Now, how did that happen?
Peter was using the top to strain a guppy out of the fish tank.
There was a time when families gathered around the television, not to argue, but to laugh together. A time when the Brady Bunch aired weekly, offering a half-hour of sunshine, sibling mischief, and the comforting idea that everything, no matter how messy, could be fixed by love and understanding. The theme song was cheerful, the colors were bright, and the smiles never faded. At least, not on screen. But time has a way of peeling back the gloss. And when we look past the Technicolor glow, we find something else. We find actors who struggled in silence. A leading man burdened by secrets he was never allowed to share. A mother who carried deep emotional wounds beneath the makeup. A housekeeper who walked away from fame in search of something more eternal. The faces that brought joy to millions each carried a shadow. And for many, their final curtain fell far from the public eye. This isn't just about who died. It's about what the Brady Bunch cost them and what they left behind. If this story moved something in you, if you remember sitting cross-legged on a carpeted floor, watching those perfect endings play out, then hit subscribe. The past has more to say, and we're here to listen. 1. Robert Reed, the father who carried the weight alone. To the millions who tuned in each week, Robert Reed was Mike Brady, the calm, level-headed father who always knew what to say. His deep voice, steady gaze, and gentle demeanor made him the backbone of the Brady Bunch, the perfect patriarch in a perfectly blended family. But behind that warm, familiar smile was a man burdened by the weight of contradiction and quiet disappointment. Born as John Robert Reed Jr. in 1932, Reed was no stranger to transformation. He was raised in the Midwest, studied drama at Northwestern, and trained in classical theater at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London. With a commanding presence and Shakespearean roots, he was drawn to serious roles, complex characters, moral dilemmas, and scripts with weight. That's why the Brady Bunch, with its playful tone and lighthearted plots, often felt like a mismatch. Reed respected his co-stars deeply, especially the children, but had frequent creative disagreements with the show's producers. More than once, he challenged scripts he felt were beneath the show's potential. Still, he stayed, because despite his reservations, he understood what the Brady Bunch meant to its audience. And he brought a quiet dignity to the role, something viewers responded to, even if they didn't know why. Outside the series, Reed continued working in television, earning critical praise in projects like Roots and Rich Man, Poor Man. But no matter what he did, Mike Brady always followed him. In the early 1990s, Reed began experiencing serious health issues. He was diagnosed with colon lymphoma, a particularly aggressive form of cancer. As his condition worsened, complications set in, and he grew increasingly withdrawn, confiding only in his daughter and a few close friends. On May 12, 1992, Robert Reed passed away at a hospital in Pasadena, California. He was just 59 years old. Though gone too soon, his legacy endures. Reed gave the world not just a character, but a sense of stability during a turbulent era in American television. And behind every scene, beneath the tailored suits and wise words, was a man who held it all together, quietly, gracefully, and on his own terms. 2. Florence Henderson, America's TV mom with a private ache. Florence Henderson was more than Carol Brady. She was the smile that lit up American living rooms. The poised, ever-understanding mother who could handle anything, from teenage heartbreak to schoolyard squabbles, all while wearing a perfect outfit and flashing that signature warmth. But Florence's real life was far more layered, more complex, and occasionally more heartbreaking than the picture-perfect matriarch she portrayed. Born on Valentine's Day in the year 1934 in Dale, Indiana, Florence was the youngest of 10 children in a deeply Catholic family. Her childhood was shaped by poverty and abandonment. Her mother left when Florence was just a teenager, forcing her to grow up quickly. But music and performance became her escape. She trained in musical theater at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York and made her Broadway debut by the time she was just 19. Before the Brady Bunch, Florence was already a respected stage performer, starring in Fanny and working alongside musical legends. She guest hosted The Tonight Show, became the first woman to do so, and had a thriving career in variety and talk shows. But it was her casting as Carol Brady in 1969 that cemented her image in American pop culture. On set, she was known for her professionalism, but also for her maternal warmth toward the younger cast. Many of the Brady kids viewed her as a real-life mentor, someone who cared deeply about their emotional well-being. What most people didn't see was that Florence was also navigating personal pain behind the scenes, a troubled marriage, a brief separation, and periods of insecurity that came with aging in an industry obsessed with youth. Florence never let the public see her struggle. Even as the years passed and the Brady Bunch evolved into a full-blown pop phenomenon, she continued to embrace her role as America's mom with grace and humor. In her later years, she became a fixture on television again, appearing in commercials, on talk shows, and even Dancing with the Stars, proving her spirit and charm were timeless. On November 24th, 2016, just one day after attending a taping of Dancing with the Stars to support on-screen daughter Maureen McCormick, Florence Henderson died unexpectedly of heart failure. She was 82. Her death stunned fans and family alike. She had shown no signs of serious illness. But perhaps it was fitting that the woman who held everything together, who healed others' wounds with a song or a hug, should leave quietly, without a drawn-out goodbye. Florence Henderson didn't just play a mother. She embodied the kind of grace, strength, and kindness that defined an era and left behind a legacy that still feels like home. 3. And B. Davis, the housekeeper who became a household name. And B. Davis never planned to become a pop culture icon. She didn't seek out the spotlight or clamor for leading roles. But through sheer authenticity and perfect comic timing, she became the beating heart of the Brady Bunch. As Alice Nelson, the wisecracking, ever-loyal housekeeper, she was more than just comic relief. She was the glue. And in real life, she brought just as much depth and devotion to everything she touched. Born in Schenectady, New York in the year 1926, and raised in Erie, Pennsylvania, Davis didn't begin her career in the arts. She originally studied medicine before drama class changed her course forever. By the 1950s, she'd found her rhythm in comedy, earning 2 Emmy Awards for her role as the lovably eccentric Secretary Schulze on The Bob Cummings Show. That success paved the way for a steady career in television, though it wasn't until 1969 that her life would change forever. When the Brady Bunch began casting, Davis was already semi-retired. But the role of Alice, equal parts jester, confidant, and surrogate parent, resonated deeply. She brought nuance to a character that could have easily been one-dimensional. Alice had punchlines, sure, but Davis gave her empathy, vulnerability, that rare ability to laugh with you, not at you. Off-screen, and B. Davis was fiercely private. She never married, never courted the Hollywood lifestyle, and in the 1970s, she took an unexpected turn, leaving Los Angeles to join an evangelical religious community led by Bishop William Fry. She spent much of her later life in communal service and spiritual devotion, rarely giving interviews and rarely stepping back into the spotlight, unless it was for a Brady Bunch reunion. Despite her low-profile lifestyle, she never lost touch with her fans or her co-stars. She remained close with many of the Brady kids, even attending events and making cameo appearances well into her 70s and 80s. She was a steady presence in their lives, just as Alice had been on screen. In June 2014, Davis suffered a fall at her home in San Antonio, Texas. She hit her head, sustained a subdural hematoma, and never regained consciousness. She passed away on June 1st at the age of 88. And B. Davis never needed tabloid headlines or leading roles to be unforgettable. She lived a life of purpose and dignity, and in doing so, she gave us one of television's most quietly revolutionary characters. Alice wasn't just the maid. She was the soul of the Brady home, and through her, and reminded us that the people working in the background often hold everything together. 4. Alan Melvin, the comic everyman who never stopped working. You might not know his name right away, but you've heard his voice, seen his face, and laughed at his lines. Alan Melvin was one of television's most reliable character actors. Never the lead, rarely in the spotlight, but always essential. As Sam Franklin, the cheerful butcher and boyfriend of Alice on the Brady Bunch, Melvin brought warmth and levity. But that was just one small role in a career that spanned decades of American television. Born in Kansas City, Missouri in the year 1923 and raised in New York City, Melvin served in the Navy during World War II before entering the world of entertainment. He got a start on radio and in theater, eventually finding his way onto television in the early 1950s. His breakthrough came with The Phil Silver Show, where his role as Corporal Henshaw showed off his impeccable comedic timing and gift for playing the sidekick who often stole the scene. Throughout the 1960s and 70s, Melvin was everywhere. The Andy Griffith Show, Gomer Pyle, USMC, All in the Family, Archie Bunker's Place, and of course, the Brady Bunch. His characters were always endearing, often blue-collar, and effortlessly funny. He wasn't flashy. He didn't need to be. He had that rare ability to walk into a scene and instantly make it better. Behind the scenes, Melvin was a professional's professional. He was beloved by cast and crew alike for his work ethic, humility, and deadpan wit. He also had an incredibly successful parallel career as a voice actor, lending his voice to beloved Saturday morning cartoons like Magilla Gorilla and the Banana Splits. His recurring appearances as Sam the Butcher may have been limited, but fans remember him vividly. Sam wasn't just Alice's boyfriend. He was the embodiment of old-fashioned, working-class charm. Melvin never tried to upstage anyone. Instead, he added dimension to every episode he touched. In his later years, Melvin largely stepped away from acting, content with the legacy he had built. He passed away on January 17, 2008, at the age of 84 after a battle with cancer. Alan Melvin was never a household name, but he was a household presence. He was the voice behind childhood memories, the friendly face in countless sitcoms, and the kind of performer who reminded us that the best actors aren't always the ones on the marquee. They're the ones who make every moment count. 5. Patrick Adiarte David. He appeared in only one episode of the Brady Bunch, playing David, a quiet Asian boy searching for a place to belong. But Patrick Adiarte's story was far bigger than any single scene on a sitcom. With thoughtful eyes and a soft-spoken voice, he brought to life a quiet kind of loneliness, one that came not from plot lines, but from the world outside the screen. Born in 1943 in Manila, Philippines, Adiarte moved to the United States with his family at a young age. He quickly became one of the very few Asian faces regularly seen on American television in the 1960s and 70s. His early roles included the young Prince Chulalongkorn in The King and I, and, more famously, Ho-Jon in MASH**, a soft, loyal character who embodied quiet sacrifice and dignity. But Hollywood had its limits, especially back then. Asian American actors like Patrick were often boxed into narrow, stereotypical roles. Meek, deferential, often invisible. Despite his poise and talent, Adiarte's screen presence was rarely allowed to grow. By the mid-1970s, he quietly stepped away from acting, disappearing from the spotlight he never truly got to own. Patrick Adiarte died in 2023. His passing was almost entirely unreported. No headlines, no memorials, just silence. But for anyone who ever noticed, who ever saw a bit of themselves in that gentle face on screen, his presence meant something. He was one of the early bridges, one of the few who stood in front of the camera at a time when Asian stories weren't told unless filtered through someone else's lens. Patrick was never the star. He was the quiet presence, the kind you don't realize you miss until much later. But in the tapestry of the Brady Bunch and the broader story of representation, he was a thread that mattered. And now that thread, too, has been quietly woven into history. 6. Jim Bakis. The voice, the wit, the unexpected Brady guest. Most fans know Jim Bakis as the millionaire Thurston Howell III from Gilligan's Island, or as the gruff yet lovable voice of Mr. Magoo. But his guest turn on the Brady Bunch added yet another notch in a long, varied career. Bakis brought with him an unmistakable presence. Voice smooth as aged whiskey and timing honed from decades in show business. Born in 1913 in Cleveland, Ohio, Bakis conquered every medium: radio, Broadway, television, film, animation. He made being typecast an art form, effortlessly playing rich, slightly out-of-touch characters with biting humor. But he could turn serious, too, as he proved in Rebel Without a Cause, playing James Dean's father. In the Brady Bunch, his appearances as Zachariah T. Brown and Harry Matthews showed his ease with even the simplest roles, injecting them with nuance and flair. He didn't need to try, he just was. Bakis died of pneumonia on July 3rd, 1989, the same date Don Drysdale would pass away 4 years later. He left behind a voice, a laugh, and a legacy that still echoes through television history. 7. Natalie Schaefer. Glamour in the most unexpected places. Elegant, witty, and always impeccably dressed, Natalie Schaefer brought a touch of old-school Hollywood glam to the Brady Bunch in her brief guest role. Known worldwide as Lovey Howell on Gilligan's Island, Schaefer had spent a lifetime playing society women, refined, dramatic, and slightly out of step with reality. Born in New Jersey in the year 1900, she built her career on Broadway before transitioning into film and television. Even in her later years, she insisted on maintaining a veil of mystery around her age and appearance, reportedly including no close-up clauses in her contracts. Though her Brady Bunch appearance was short, it shimmered with her trademark blend of class and comic precision. She passed away on April 10, 1991, from liver cancer. In death, as in life, she maintained her grace. 8. Davy Jones. The monkey who made Marcia Brady swoon, in a show packed with wholesome charm and suburban dreams. No moment set young hearts ablaze quite like the day Marcia Brady got a date with the Davy Jones. For millions of fans, it wasn't just television, it was a teenage fantasy come true. Born in Manchester, England, Davy Jones didn't start out chasing pop stardom. As a boy, his first ambition was to be a jockey, and he trained seriously before an unexpected detour into acting rerouted his life. After earning attention for his role as the artful Dodger in Oliver, Jones made his way to Broadway, where his boyish charisma caught the eye of Hollywood scouts. By the mid-1960s, he had become one quarter of the Monkees, a band created for TV but launched into real-world pop superstardom. With his Beatles-style mop top, soulful eyes, infectious grin, Jones was the heartthrob of the group. The Monkees sold millions of records, starred in a hit show, and became a cultural force. But it was his guest appearance on the Brady Bunch in the 1971 episode, Getting Davy Jones, that etched his name into the canon of classic TV. As himself, Jones stole the scene, and arguably the season, when he walked into a recording studio and sang Girl to a starstruck Marcia Brady. The episode became an instant fan favorite, rewatched endlessly by fans who could only dream of such an encounter. What made the moment so powerful wasn't just the fantasy. It was that Jones, despite his fame, played the part with genuine warmth and humility. He didn't just show up for a cameo. He fit into the Brady world with the same sincerity that made him a teen idol in the first place. After the Monkees disbanded in the early 1970s, Jones stayed active in entertainment. He toured, reunited with his bandmates multiple times, and returned to stage acting. He even fulfilled his childhood dream of becoming a jockey, racing professionally on the side. He was never just a nostalgic footnote. He kept performing kept connecting, and kept charming audiences well into the new millennium. But on a leap day in 2012, Jones died suddenly of a heart attack at age 66. His death stunned fans around the world, especially those who had grown up watching him serenade Marsha Brady, ride horses, or light up a stage. Davy Jones didn't need a scandal or a tragic downfall to be remembered. He was the real thing, a pop idol who knew who he was, embraced the love of his fans, and never stopped giving back. In the world of the Brady Bunch, he was a fantasy. In real life, he was something rarer, a star who stayed kind. 9. Don Drysdale, the baseball legend who stepped in his sitcom fame. When Don Drysdale walked on a Brady Bunch set, he didn't need to act. His legend had already been written on the pitcher's mound. A towering figure in Major League Baseball, Drysdale was known for his fireball throws, steely demeanor, and relentless drive. His appearance on the show as himself was more than just a cameo. It was a cultural crossover moment, blending the world of sports and television in a way that captured America's imagination. Born in Van Nuys, California in the year 1936, Drysdale made his MLB debut with the Brooklyn Dodgers before the teams moved to Los Angeles. He dominated the 1960s, winning the Cy Young Award in 1962 and setting a then record with 58 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings in 1968. But even off the field, Drysdale had charisma. He acted, broadcasted, and made his mark in pop culture. On the Brady Bunch, he played himself mentoring Greg, adding a layer of authenticity and heart to the storyline. It was one of those rare guest appearances that didn't feel forced, because Drysdale's presence was larger than life, even without a script. He died of a heart attack on July 3, 1993, in a hotel room in Montreal, just hours before he was scheduled to commentate a Dodgers game. In that moment, the world lost more than a ball player. It lost a bridge between sports and American entertainment history. 10. C. Lindseay Workman, the man with 1,000 faces. You may not know his name, but you've definitely seen C. Lindseay Workman, a classic character actor. He played everything from principals to doctors to concerned neighbors, each with an earnestness that grounded even the zaniest sitcom plotlines. On the Brady Bunch, he made several appearances in minor roles, always dependable, always understated. Born in 1924, Workman had a career built on being the everyman that tied television's fictional worlds to real-life relatability. He wasn't flashy. He didn't need to be. He showed up, delivered, and made every scene just a little more believable. Workman passed away in 2012. Like so many unsung heroes of television's golden age, he left behind a body of work that's felt, if not always remembered by name. The Brady Bunch wasn't just a sitcom. It was a mirror of American idealism, framed in avocado-colored kitchens and sunshine-yellow optimism. But as the years passed, the cast, both major and minor, quietly exited the stage, one by one. Some slipped away in obscurity, others in the glare of sudden headlines. What remains isn't just a list of names and dates. It's a mosaic of lives touched by fame, shaped by the camera, and faded by time. From Robert Reed's secret battles and simmering frustrations with the show's simplicity, to Florence Henderson's graceful departure after a life in the spotlight. From the warm presence of N.B. Davis to the unforgettable voices of Alan Melvin or Jim Bakis. Each actor brought a piece of themselves to a show that promised perfect harmony, even when real life was anything but. Even guest stars like Davy Jones and Don Drysdale became more than cameos. They became part of a generational memory. To viewers, they weren't just actors. They were uncles, aunts, fathers, coaches, crushes. And as they vanished, one by one, they left behind a kind of ache. A quiet grief, not just for them, but for a version of life that now only lives in reruns. We may never again see a show so defiantly wholesome, or a cast so strangely bonded through time. But the Brady Bunch endures, not because of perfection, but because beneath the laugh track, it carried traces of real joy, real love, and real loss. Subscribe to this channel to continue the journey through Hollywood's hidden corners, its forgotten faces, and the untold stories behind the smiles. The past isn't gone. It's just waiting to be remembered.